Hey, Wellness Walker, there was a time you felt safe, like you were seen, appreciated, and even depended on. You were the achiever, the caretaker, or perhaps the one who had it all together. But now you're exploring different paths on the walk of life. So, what happens when that old version of you no longer fits? What do you do when the people, places, and habits you once experienced are no longer your preference? You know those moments when you realize the company you once kept wears you down and leaves you feeling like support is a million miles away. You know when you catch yourself revisiting places that you thought you'd outgrown but keep coming back to out of a sense of insecurity. You know when those habits that no longer serve your well-being creep back in out of seemingly nowhere and leave you wondering, is change even possible? You've changed, you've stretched, and the path you're on, well, it's getting bigger. The next chapter, that is already calling you. So why hang on to yesterday's version of you when the only thing the future is waiting on is your courage? If this is resonating with you, stay tuned because today's Pep Talk Walk is inspired to help you walk it out. Let's walk it out, y'all. Let's be real. This version of you, the one standing on the edge of what was and what could be, this version is brave. This version is awakening. And this version is learning to listen to what the body, mind, and spirit needs. But growth can be noisy, messy, and even exhausting. So how do you facilitate self-care while you're transforming? Today, I'm sharing 3 practical self-care tips to help you stay grounded and focused as you move from the old version of yourself into the new one, the one you're becoming. Now, these tips are here to support your transformation so you can sustain your growth, not just start it. Now, if you listen to episode 2, Step Through Fear, I trust that you've been leveraging those messages to help you do just that. Because remember, when you look deeper, fear becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a message, a direction, an acronym for growth. And when you use those tools to walk it out, you're not just setting a pace on the walk of life, you're moving with clarity, purpose, and power. So if you missed that episode, make sure you go back and check it out. But today, we're stepping in a whole new layer of growth by way of 3 self-care tips with strategies that you can apply immediately. So let's talk about each one.
Feels like sunshine.
Self-care tip number 1 to help you walk it out as you move from the old version of yourself into a new one. Make space to grieve your old self. Yes, you heard me right, grieving. Because even when the old version of you was stressed, stretched thin, or overcommitted, it was familiar and it made sense for you. So if you're feeling a little off lately, maybe more emotional than usual, that may not be weakness. It could be healing. See, grief isn't just for loss in a traditional sense. It's what happens when we release a version of ourselves that we've outgrown. And here's the thing. When we try to push those feelings down or avoid them altogether, it doesn't go away. It just buries itself and shows up later in ways we don't expect. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and we don't want that. So to make space to grieve your old self, here are a few strategies you can use instead of pushing those feelings away. 1. Give yourself permission to feel. Just like we show kindness to others, self-care means extending that same grace to ourselves, especially when saying goodbye to an old version of who we were. You could try saying something like, I appreciate who I was and what I did to get here. Now I release what I no longer need. It's that simple. You can thank yourself, forgive yourself, acknowledge the struggle, and let it rest. 2. Create a then and now journal. Set aside 10 to 15 minutes each week to reflect on one pattern, role, or belief you're releasing and what new mindset or behavior you're embracing in its place. This practice helps you honor your transition without judgment. You can use question prompts to journal like, what beliefs no longer serve me? What habits kept me feeling safe but stuck? What version of myself felt familiar even though it was unhealthy? Bringing an awareness to these answers gives you a space to reflect and grieve and also offer yourself some compassion as you grow. 3, limit your exposure to old triggers. Protect your space by stepping back from people, environments, or habits that pull you into your old patterns you no longer want. You can't fully grieve and grow if you're still actively showing up as the version you're trying to release. Letting go requires distance and the courage to choose differently. You can do this by taking a social media break, creating new routines, and setting new boundaries with people. When applied together, these protect your energy and reduce emotional triggers that you might have, and they reinforce the version of you that's emerging, the one that you want to experience on the walk of life. Those are just a few strategies that I have, but what about you? How do you make space to honor and release the old version of yourself? Take a moment to pause, reflect, and drop your favorite practice in the comments. I'd love to hear what's been working for you. And when you're ready, let's jump on to tip number 2 because we're just getting started. Self-care tip number 2 to help you walk it out as you move from the old version of yourself into the new one. Name the fear. You can't manage what you won't name. What's the fear that's keeping you holding on? Fear of failure, of being invisible, of letting others down. Whatever it is, write it down. Say it out loud. Fear shrinks when it's seen. We talked about this in the Step Through Fear episode 2 when we discussed the importance of looking at the thoughts associated to the fear and really examining it to face everything and rise. Fears actually shrink when we face them because the exposure takes the mystery out of the unknown. And when you step through fear and lean in to those hard conversations, you start to rewrite the entire story that you've been telling yourself. What once felt like something that was overwhelming just begins to feel like something that's manageable. And a lot of times you'll realize that what you were thinking about was so small. Here's the key. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding fear. It comes from stepping through fear, using its message for growth, like facing everything and rise, right? While this helps you become aware of the opportunities for growth, you'll need to name the fear to move from that old version of yourself into a new version. This is how we walk it out after we've stepped through fear. So how do we do that practically? How do you actually name the fear so it loses its grip? Here are a few strategies you can try. 1, speak it out loud in a safe space. Say the fear out loud to a trusted friend, a therapist, or even just to yourself in the mirror. Vocalizing fear takes some of that emotional charge away. 2, use a fear reflection prompt. Try writing this down. Fear is telling me blank, but I know that blank. Doing this helps separate the fear from truth and gives you a chance to reframe the story in a way that works for you. 3, track when it shows up in your body. Fear often speaks through physical signals, right? Maybe it might be a tightness in your chest or a clenched jaw, or maybe even butterflies in your stomach. When you notice those things, ask yourself, what fear is living here? And name it. The more you walk it out, in this case, naming the fear, the smaller it gets. Confidence grows when you face the uncomfortable, not when you run from it. So walk it out. Let's turn it to you. How do you name the fear as you move from the old version of yourself into the new one? If you feel moved, drop your favorite ritual or reflection in the comments because growth loves company. When you're ready, resume. Now let's move on to the third tip. Feel so soulful and so spiritual. Self-care tip number 3 to help you walk it out as you move from the old version of yourself into a new one. Celebrate the shift. This is my favorite. Listen, this isn't just about self-care. This is about self-honoring. Every time you walk away from what no longer fits, you're actually walking towards the person you're becoming. And here's a little hack I want to share with you. Keep a becoming list. That's right. Keep a becoming list. Not a list of what you've achieved, but a list of who you're becoming. Maybe it's more patient. Maybe you want to be more bold. Perhaps you want to express yourself more freely, or maybe you want to become a healthier person physically and mentally. Look, when you have visibility to who you're growing into, it's so much easier to recognize the people, places, and habits that may not be in your best interest. And to help you nurture that, here are 4 strategies to celebrate and honor your growth. 1, write a letter to your new self. This is easy. Just take a moment to celebrate your growth by writing to the emerging version of you, encouraging them, honoring their journey, and affirming what lies ahead. No one knows you better than you, so who better to write a letter to you than you? 2, take yourself on a milestone date. That's right. Treat yourself to a solo adventure, maybe a hike, a spa, a museum visit, or go to a cozy cafe, whatever your fancy. Just do something your new self would love. And it's great when you do this, and it's something that old version of you would never do. 3, name the shift. Now, this could be really fun because this is really you coming into self-awareness of this chapter of your life and giving it a name. Maybe it's something like the becoming, or my rebirth season, or your rooted rising, or something of that nature, right? You can get as creative with this as you want, but just think all the time there are brands, logos, songs, themes that people are projecting out to us every day that have nothing to do with what it is that we internally want. And we internalize those brands, logos, songs, themes, lyrics, whatever it is. Why not name the shift that you're making? Let that be is resonating over and over in your mind so that you can sustain your growth. 4, create a playlist that reflects your growth. Yes, curate some songs that make you feel powerful, soft, free, focused, strong. Whatever it is that you want to feel, whatever captures how you're evolving, put a playlist together that actually encourages that. Remember, this process isn't about rushing to some destination. It's about honoring who you are becoming step by step. So keep that becoming list close. It's a beautiful reminder of your journey. Now, I'm curious, what's your way of celebrating the shift as you move from the old version of yourself into a new one? Whether it's journaling, walking, or simply breathing through the shift, your practice matters. Hit pause, reflect, and share your favorite way of letting go in the comments below. Growing. Wellness Walker, you're already braver than you know, and I hope these self-care tips feel like lifelines helping you steady your pace on the walk of life so you can walk it out. And remember to use these 3 self-care tips to help you stay grounded and focused as you move from the old version of yourself into the new one. 1, make space to grieve your old self. Because even when the old version of you was stressed, even when it was stretched in and overcommitted, it was familiar. It was you. So allow yourself to grieve and show yourself compassion. It's not only an act of self-care, it's an act of self-love. 2, name the fear, because you can't manage what you won't name. So figure it out, name it, write it down, look at it, say it, whatever it is. The more you confront it, the smaller it becomes, and its power, that gets redistributed where it rightfully belongs, right with you. 3, celebrate the shift. Remember, this is bigger than self-care. This is about self-honoring. Find the ways that work for you to honor the person you're becoming and do just that. Okay. If you remember nothing else, remember this: when people, places, and habits make you doubt, breathe deep, stand tall, and walk it out. That's it for today's pep talk walk. But you keep showing up for yourself. Keep shining your truth. Trust your steps. Trust your timing, even when the path feels unclear. And I'll meet you on the next walk for another pep talk, ready to remind you of your strength. Full potential.